You wanted the best. You've got the best podcast. The hottest podcast in the world. The Chris Voss Show, the preeminent podcast with guests so smart you may experience serious brain bleed. The CEOs, authors, thought leaders, visionaries, and motivators. Get ready. Strap yourself in. Keep your hands, arms, and legs inside the vehicle at all times, because you're about to go on a monster education roller coaster with your brain. Now, here's your host, Chris Voss.
Hi, folks. Voss here from thechrisvossshow.com. There you go, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the Iron Lady Sings and That Makes It Official. Welcome to the big show. As always, the Chris Voss Show is a family that loves you but doesn't judge you, at least not as harsh as the rest of the world, because we know you're here trying to grow. You're trying to be better. You're trying to do your things and all that good stuff. And we certainly have the guests that can help educate you for that. Go to goodreads.com/Chris Voss, linkedin.com/Chris Voss, Chris Voss 1, the TikTokity, and facebook.com/Chris Voss. Today, an amazing young man on the show. We're going to be talking about his latest book that came out April 4th, 2025, called Trends Due to Climate Change by Frederic Buse. We're going to get into it with him and find out all the data and how you can improve your life with the quality knowledge that he has. He was raised on Long Island, New York during World War II, learning about victory gardens, blackouts, scrap metal drives, and scouting. He graduated from New York State Maritime College as a marine engineer in 1958, went to work for Ingersoll Rand Company in Phillipsburg, New Jersey. He's promoted to chief engineer of a new commercial pump division in Allentown, Pennsylvania. This sounds like a song from songs from Billy Joel and the Boss. One of the most challenging projects was the dozens of pumps to pump coal slurry 1,000 miles using water from the Colorado River. It would have almost drained the river. However, railroad Emmett Domain won the contract. You represented the United States in writing the international pump standards for ISO for 25 years. And he retired from Ingersoll Rand after 42 years. He's traveled to 28 countries, Egypt, Central America, etc. And then he was a caregiver for his wife, who had Alzheimer's for 10 years, and took care of her and wrote a book called A Caregiver's Tips. After his wife passed, he became a master gardener for Penn State. In 2014, he wrote a book on the phenology of suburban backyard. The draft was 1,100 pages, and no publisher would take it. He whittled down to 568, and it was published as Anticipation in 2019, and republished and updated and retitled as Trends in 2025. Welcome to the show. How are you, sir?
Fine, thank you.
There you go. So give us a .coms, any websites you want people to check you out on.
Yes, I have Frederic Buse, oneword.com.
There you go. So give us a 30,000 overview of what's inside your book.
Well, the book, The Trends, tells you and shows you what's happening to the climate, what's happening to the birds, the flora, over 30 years of observation. And so my quest is to plant a seed into the reader, hoping they do the same type of thing to realize what's happening with climate change.
And does your work as a master gardener, does that have an effect on your experience and what you've seen over these years?
Yes, it has. They taught me a lot about flowers and what to do with them. And so that helped very much my observations.
There you go. So what do people need to know about this stuff?
Well, first of all, I started in 1986 to write a diary of what's happening, not just of birds, but the flora and fauna, for my own curiosity about what's happening. Then about in the 90s, the public started to hear about climate change. And so I said, well, there might be something to this. I wasn't quite convinced, but I had data going back 20 years already of what was happening to the temperature. And so as an engineer, I said, well, let's plot this out and see what's happening. And sure enough, I found by putting a trend line on a temperature of what was happening, that almost every month, the temperature has increased from 2 to 6 degrees over 20 years, mean temperature. So we're getting warm. July being the worst one with 6 degrees.
Yeah.
Except December is going the other way. It's going down.
Hmm.
What a crazy thing that is. But that's what's happening.
Is there a reason why that's happening?
Well, that I would like to know. But it sure is having an effect on the amount of snow we get by December. And so I look at the rain, I look at the snow, and I look at temperature and see if I can put them all together to see what's happening in the environment relative to the weather.
Mm-hmm.
So in March, it really shows up because we used to have heavy snowstorms back in the 90s.
Mm-hmm.
Now, 30 years later, we have none.
Mm.
So it's gone from maybe 20 or 30 inches to none.
Wow.
Yeah, that's a big wow.
Yeah. Yeah, I remember when I was young, Wes, we spent our teens here in Utah, and we would the snowdrifts would be huge. We would be able to the snowdrifts in the front yard would be so deep, we would be able to build tunnels through the snow.
Yeah.
And it would be sometimes like 4 feet and stuff. It would be crazy. And I remember as Boy Scouts, we would do the same. As Boy Scouts, we would go up in the canyons during the, after it snowed, to camp and do, Boy Scout stuff. And the picnic tables that were up there, they'd have those wood pickup picnic tables. The snow would be like 6 inches to a foot over that table. And that would be like the flat plane for us there.
Yeah.
And so as for fun, we would dig under one end of the table out through the other, and you could crawl in basically under and through the table and up the other way. Yeah, I mean, it was stuff we did for fun, but we would dig these tunnels. And the last 5 years of spending more time in Utah and seeing the snow stuff here, we have nothing close to that. Like, really rare. Especially down in the valleys and stuff. So you're kind of like, well, something's changed, for 20 years I've lived in Las Vegas, and Lake Mead has just grown, smaller and smaller and smaller. And so what else did your trends lines find? What do you see there? There's the annual life of the flora and the fauna in the suburban backyard.
Oh, that's also interesting. We have what we call the canopy, and that's when the trees develop all their leaves in the spring.
Mm-hmm.
But, it's a regular canopy, it has shade, but that has opened up 2 weeks earlier now.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
Mm-hmm.
And in the fall, when the leaves turn color and drop, that's happening 2 weeks later.
Wow.
So we have 4 weeks increase in the agriculture.
I've noticed that the last couple of years that summer seems to grind forever, and it also seems to come a little bit early.
Yep.
But yeah, like I think last year it was like still summer in September, and it was still raging hot. We were just like, serious? Like,
I can remember years ago, at the end of August, that was the end of the tomato season.
yeah.
Now I'm picking tomatoes in October.
Yeah, it's still going. It's kind of nice, but I'm not sure that everyone's, it's helping everyone get along.
Yeah. And so the flora in the spring is coming out 2 weeks earlier.
Mm-hmm.
And you remember crickets, I'm sure. And the crickets are cricketing 2 weeks later now.
Oh, wow. So what effect do you think that's having on the rest of the world and everything else that we experience and what we do?
Well, for the rest of the world, we've heard over and over again how the ocean is getting warmer. So the lobsters are moving up from where they normally are in Maine and moving up higher to get colder.
Mm.
The sharks are moving up north now in the summer. The maple syrup industry has changed also, account of climate change. They have like 2 weeks less of getting the syrup.
Oh well, we can't have that because you gotta have pancakes, right?
They have to have our pancakes right on.
Gotta
Yeah.
have pancakes. That's a part of the food chain, food pyramid. Pancakes.
So it's having also a big effect on the migration of the birds.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah. The migration of birds in where I am begins in April. That's when it really happens.
Mm-hmm.
And in the past 20 years or so, I have tripled the number of migrating species.
Wow.
Yeah. I have lost species because the birds are not coming south in the winter because it's warm. They don't have to.
Mm-hmm.
Likewise, I'm gaining species, which I hadn't before. The problem is with this increase, the insects are coming out earlier and dying off. So when the birds come here for migration at a feeding stop, there's no food.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, and the birds that are here for the summer, they're struggling to find food for the young.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's kind of interesting what's going on. How do you think it impacts us as humans?
That is a subject within itself. Yes, as I said, I collect all this data on flora and fauna. If I had the knowledge, it would have been very interesting to see what's happening to the humans as far as births is concerned, and
Mm-hmm.
deaths concerned.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Well, I mean, imagine it plays some different parts. I mean, just in kind of what we're used to, maybe was as human beings, and what's going on in our environment, how we
yep.
feel, and stuff like that. Imagine it's having some sort of impact.
I would imagine so. Yes, but I,
Hmm.
I, I can't put my finger on that one.
Yeah,
However, where you are, okay, you're Las Vegas, right?
Las Vegas and Utah
Yeah, and that was all desert about 100 years ago,
still is.
except in Las Vegas.
Yeah.
That's all man-made environment.
Oh yeah.
It would have been very interesting if someone had studied the way I did to see how the climate change is affecting where you live.
Oh, I'm sure it is.
Yeah, I know, but it would be very interesting because you're all man-made environment.
Hmm. Yeah, we like making man-made everything. That's kind of how we roll, especially in Vegas. But there's that. Um, so, what do you hope people get from your book? What do you hope they come away with when they read it?
Well, I hope that they get realization of climate change is going to infect their environment
Mm-hmm.
and to be able to pass that on to the children. Okay, that's the main thing. But I
Okay.
wrote the book month by month and week by week in each month, so a person can just put the book on their cocktail table and read, okay, what's supposed to be happening this week, and see if it is happening.
Well, that's good to have because that
Yeah,
way you know what's going on from week to week.
yep.
Um, when was the time? When did you first notice that climate change was a thing? I mean, we've all kind of seen the craziness of what's been happening in the world. When did you notice that it was finally become a thing?
1990s.
1990s. There you
Yeah,
go.
because before that is when we had like all the snow and such, and then all of a sudden I look and say, wow, it really has a big change.
Hmm.
Another, I observe other phenomenons which I don't quite understand as far as snow is concerned.
Hmm.
Um, we can go along and just have a normal snow, let's say of 9 inches. And then the next year we get a hard one. We might get 30 inches of snow or maybe almost 40 inches of snow. And I call that a spike. The next year after that, there's nothing, zero. And I've seen this occur over and over again. These spikes go very high, and the next year is zero.
Mm. Oh, so why is sometimes there's no spikes and it goes to zero?
That's mystery. That is a mystery, yes. But
So
it's there.
yeah. So what can we learn from that mystery? I mean, we need to know more, right? Or something?
Yeah, yep. Well, it would tell you that you might think everything is going along nice and smoothly,
Mm-hmm.
and bingo, watch out. Yeah, it just happens.
But even with the research, you feel that something has definitely changed permanently in our environment the last 50 years. Is that correct?
Yes, that is correct. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Now, the thing is, when I first did this and plotted it, it looked like the silhouette of the Rocky Mountains, all right? Went up and down, up and down. I said, well, how can I rationalize what's happening? So fortunately, on a computer, I just had to hit trend line, and lo and behold, I got a nice straight line.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes it went up, sometimes it stayed level, and sometimes it went down. And so this trend line is what I use as a base on everything,
Hmm.
as far as flowers, when they bloom, when they don't bloom. And with the blooming of the flowers, I find that they basically are blooming early by 2 weeks.
Mm-hmm.
But if they start off blooming 2 weeks later above my trend line, all of the perennials for that year seem to be blooming 2 weeks later or earlier.
Mm-hmm.
So what starts in the spring seems to follow throughout.
Wow. There you go. What
Yeah,
starts in the spring falls throughout, and off you go.
yeah.
The uh looking over this data, you want people to learn from it and stuff. Tell us about what you see for the future. Where do you see us going, and what do you see happening with the future?
Well, how far is the future? Um, right now, a lot of the trend lines show we're going to have warmer, warmer weather.
Hmm.
Okay, okay, and if that's because I'm looking at 20 or 30 years. But if I look just at 5 years, there's a reversal in the trend,
Mm-hmm.
and I don't quite understand that yet. But to answer your question, what's in the future? Uh, the you know what a planting zone is?
No, tell
Ah,
us.
okay, a planting zone. There's about 13 of them in the United States, and each state has a different planting zone or more. The numbers go from like basically down to 13, which is the southern part of the country.
Mm-hmm.
Pennsylvania, our planting zone is 5 and 6. What does that mean? That means the plants that you put in will survive the winter. And so, depending on what zone you are, you plant different perennials or shrubs or trees that will survive the winter. And
Hmm.
so, that the planting zone is changing. So, from Pennsylvania, we're going from 5 into 6. So
Mm-hmm.
if you're on a borderline now and you're building a new home and you're putting in trees, you should almost look and plant trees for the next zone. Take into account 30 years from now.
Oh, wow.
And where you live, your state has at least 4 zones. And the zones where you have temperatures which are real cold are not cold anymore. So the water, the snow is not there that you had before. And so the water that you depended on in the summer might not be there. That's how
Mm.
the planting zones are changing.
Hmm. And you talk in your book about the flora. What is the flora?
That's all the flowers.
Oh, okay. All right there.
That's
I wasn't
it's
sure if
it's,
it was
it's,
like.
it's the shrubs, the perennials. That's the flora.
Hmm. Now, you also talk in your book about what you call the cyclic year start. What is that?
the cyclic year. The cyclic year is the phenomena of the life of the flora and fauna. It's outside life.
Mm.
And I start my year in March because that's when it's the awakening of life outside is in March. So my book starts in March.
Okay.
And to make things simple, instead of having 54 years, I make 48 weeks. I make 48 weeks. I'll go crazy here. Uh, I have 48 weeks instead of the 54. So
Oh.
it makes it easier to plot things out.
There you go. Pretty interesting. So, with this, I know you've written some other books. Do you want to get a plug in for those as well?
Oh, sure. I have the book on caregivers tips. That's on Alzheimer's.
Mm-hmm.
I spent 9 years as a caregiver for my wife. And the book is written from a man's standpoint of caregiving.
Mm-hmm.
And what I did is I put in 134 different tips for caregivers. It's a very practical book because a lot of people have no idea when this awful disease hits a member of the family.
Yeah.
And it can be very devastating in all kinds of ways. So that's what caregivers is about.
Mm-hmm.
The other book, I said lifestyle of backyard birds and the change due to climate change. What's happening to their lifestyle.
Mm-hmm.
So where Trend's book takes flora and fauna into account, this is just for bird lovers. And so I've been here 55 years and I have observed 79 different species flying over the house in one way or another.
Oh, wow.
Yes, quite a bit. And so I tell the tales of the observation of each species that I can, what I have data for. So it's not just a regular bird book. You know, the bird looks nice and this is the song and this tells you what the birds do.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. For instance, the blue jay. A lot of people say the blue jays are bad, but they're quite a character. Okay, and they're the policeman. So if a hawk lands in the backyard, they start to yell because a hawk is there.
Yeah.
And when they yell, then other birds come, other species, and pretty soon I have a symphony going on of all kinds of species chasing a hawk away.
Yeah.
Okay, that's one thing they do. I put out whole peanuts on my feeder, which was raised up in the air about 5 feet.
Mm-hmm.
And I put some peanuts down on the ground for the squirrels.
Mm-hmm.
So the blue jay comes along and they take the ones on the ground first, and then they take the ones which are up high, which the squirrels can't get at. The other thing they do is that if the young birds, the small birds are at the feeder, they'll get up in a branch and they'll imitate a hawk, yelling like a hawk, and that scares all little birds. And so then they come down and they take the food. Yeah.
Well, there you go. There you go.
Yeah.
And so do you do bird watching professionally? Do you like that?
I don't do it professionally, but I do bird watching for Cornell University.
Okay.
And I've been doing that since 1986. And if a person wants to start this type of thing, I would encourage them to join the Citizens Watch from Cornell University, which is now worldwide. And so what you do is you observe the birds from November to April and send your observations into Cornell. And at the end of the year, they give you a synopsis of all the different areas of the country of what's happening to the species.
Well, that's good to know. That's good to know. You know, our environment's important to us. Why do you think that, should we be active in doing things to lower climate change and the effects that maybe we have on the environment as a human species?
Yes, we should. The average person should change to planting native trees and native flowers. I mean, you can buy all kinds of pretty flowers, but that does not necessarily say that the bees are going to come to them.
Yeah.
Okay. And so with the change of environment happening, they should get native trees of what's going to be happening so the new type of birds and insects can enjoy that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. You definitely want to, we are as our environment goes, we go as human beings. So it's probably important for us to start addressing it. It used to be you could make a lot of denial about uh, climate change, but now when you see hurricanes coming in on
Yep.
California for the first time ever, you see the huge fires. You see a lot of insurance companies pulling out of Florida and California and Texas because of the natural disasters that go on there all the time now,
Yep.
and they just seem to be getting worse and worse. The big fire in California was pretty crazy, wiped out the Palisades. That was beyond insane to see, and it just seems to get crazier. And now
Well,
we're
it is.
talking about rising tides and
Yeah.
waters. Do you see that where maybe the water's going to rise up and maybe cities are going to flood with what's
One
going on?
thing which you don't hear much about, but the tilt of the Earth is changing, and that's affecting a lot.
Mm,
That, yeah, that has had a huge effect. And some people say, well, how's that happening? Well, the melting of the ice changes the weight of the on the surface, now going to water. Some people say, well, it was the big dams in China might be affecting the weight of the earth. But there is a change happening.
hmm Yeah, it's hard to deny it with what's going on.
Yeah.
What's some other advice you give to people? I mean, plant trees that are maybe native, the ones that the bees will like. There was a time there where the bees seemed to be struggling to stay around, and so they were dying off.
Yes,
And
they
you got to
still
have
are.
bees to pollinate everything. And of course, a lot of our sugar comes from honey. What other piece of advice do you give people?
Well, there's a controversy about letting your lawns go fallow.
Hmm.
All right.
What does that mean?
That means you just let it go wild. Otherwise,
Oh,
you don't cut the lawn.
okay.
You might want to keep on cutting the front lawn, but if you have a if you have a huge back lawn, you just let it go. And so what happens is that now you have changed the environment for birds and insects.
Mm,
Okay, so now the birds have additional nesting areas. You will get different types of birds by having that happen.
hmm
You get different insects. Otherwise, I had an area next to me go fallow. And what happens is the lightning bugs now come up differently.
mm.
More lightning bugs. Okay. So
Yeah.
oddly enough, they complain about the insects might be due to all the nice tractors that people are cutting their lawn with is compacting the soil and preventing the insects from emerging out of the soil.
hmm The yeah, in Vegas we do a thing where we do xeriscaping. They paid a bunch of people to tear up their lawns back in the day, and they try not to let people install new lawns.
Yeah,
And they have xeriscaping, and I really love it because I don't ever have to mow the lawn. But it's basically you just put down rock,
yeah,
and and then you have these drip tubes, the drip watering system that water small plants that are designed to live in the desert,
yeah. Okay,
and they give you some beauty,
all right.
and that seems to work really well for Las Vegas and stuff.
Yeah, yeah, okay. Well, I know in England that they have this fallow uh, way of doing things now.
Oh, really?
Some people object because they say, well, you might encourage more ticks and other insects. But it's all part of nature.
hmm Yeah. The I often see people like I'm always amazed in Vegas. Everything's very conservative on water. They actually have water police that go out, and if you're a business or you are running water down the street from your sprinklers, over sprinklering,
Yeah,
overwatering, they get after you and confine you. But in California and Utah, man, I've seen water just run down the uh, down the sidewalk like a freaking river, and
wow, all right.
I'll go look at the sprinkler systems, and I'm like, you have this water because we do conservation in Vegas because you guys get our water from us
Yeah,
mostly, and Yeah, maybe you guys should knock that off. And then you see full, beautiful lawn yards in California. It's kind of funny. Same thing in Utah. They have front and back full yards, and I tell people there, I'm like, you guys should try xeriscaping because the money you save just in mowing,
Yeah, okay.
let alone
Mowing.
water, is
Yeah, yeah.
it's crazy.
Well, back on that subject, when we have the cold winter, but not real cold, but the ground is frozen,
Hmm.
but you don't get snow. The water just runs off on a frozen ground now,
Yeah,
and that causes flooding in the spring. Yeah,
yeah, we
so
see a lot of that.
it's the same type of thing. It's so another interesting thing in France. Oh, I don't know, maybe it was 10 years ago. They did a study about the cell phone waves on birds.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
Hmm.
and they think there's that the that well, probably millions of cell phone waves, is
Hmm.
affecting the birds. Now, obviously, you're not going to cut down on cell phone waves, but that makes sense in a way. It's almost like the canary in a coal mine.
Yeah. Canary in a coal mine. There you go.
Yeah,
Great
yeah,
song by the Police.
yeah. Well, that's
There you
and
go.
all the amount of CO2 we have in the air is killing off the birds too. Same type
Yeah.
of thing.
There
Yeah.
you go. There you go. Well, any final thoughts as we go out? Anything you want to pitch out to people? Any messages you want to share with them before we go?
Well, I have another book coming out probably
Oh,
in,
okay.
in September. Uh, it's called Try and Find Us. It's about my wife and I, 9 years living country as naive young couple, and all the episodes that we had living in the country.
Oh, wow.
It was a wonderful experience.
Hmm.
I almost got killed about 3 times. It was a wonderful experience.
How did you almost get killed?
Well, in the middle of the winter, my neighbor was getting oil delivered to his house.
Oh, wow.
All right, and this is out in the country now, and his driveway was built up on gravel, and there was swamp on each side of it. Okay, so you picture
Hmm.
this oil truck filled with oil going up this driveway that was frozen, and a swamp on each side, and all of a sudden the oil truck slips off the side.
Oh, no.
And
Right into
now,
the swamp.
how do you remove this oil truck? So the neighbors and I went out there, and we got an old farm tractor
Uh-huh.
and chains. And I crawled underneath and put this chain with a forged hook around the axle.
Uh-huh.
I said, okay, pull. Well, the chain started to get tighter and tighter. And all of a sudden, the chain started to move further. And bingo, the forged hook straightened out like an arrow and went right by my head.
Whoa. You stayed under there.
Yeah, I was foolish enough. I was giving them guidance to pull. Yeah,
That sounds like a dangerous place to be, my friend.
very dangerous place. Yes. Oh, God.
Just for some oil.
Yeah.
There you go. So it'll be the book will be all the adventures and stuff that you guys had with your wife
Yep.
before she fell ill. That sounds like a beautiful story for something you could do. I know being a caretaker is hard of someone you love,
Yes.
and you wrote the book fully on that as well. People should check out.
Now, if the patient doesn't recognize you from the front, you walk behind them, they might recognize your voice.
Really?
Yeah.
Huh? That's kind of interesting.
Yeah. And you never take a person with Alzheimer's on a airplane or an airport. I had a very bad experience by not knowing what to do there. Like my wife wanted to get off the plane in the middle of the sky.
Oh wow.
All right. And it goes on and on. And the most mysterious thing is Ever hear of sundowning?
Sundowning, I believe so, yes.
Yeah, that's when the patients, when the sun sets, the patient starts to talk to mysterious people.
Ah.
And even though I'm sitting next to her, I'm not there.
Mm-hmm.
And she started to talk about subjects which I think she knew nothing about, politics or other things. And she just kept on talking. This goes on for a half hour or so, and you don't dare interrupt it. Then after a couple of hours, it dissipates.
Wow.
It's a real spooky thing.
Very spooky.
Yeah,
Very spooky.
yeah. So
So as we go out, give people a final pitch out to order up your books and get to know you better online, and what .coms they should do that at.
yeah. My publisher did a very nice job at the website. Yep.
There you go. What's the .com? And tell people where they can order up your book.
Yeah, that you can order a book on Amazon. Yes.
There you go. And then they can also find you at your website at fredericbuse.com.
Correct. Yep.
There you go. Well, thank you very much, Frederic, for being on the show. We really appreciate it.
Well, thank you for the invite. Yes.
Thank you. And thanks, Terrence, for tuning in. Order the book wherever fine books are sold. It's called Trends Due to Climate Change, out April 4th, 2025 by Frederic Buse. And check out his other books as well. Thanks, Monis, for tuning in. Go to goodreads.com/Chris Voss, LinkedIn.com/Chris Voss, Chris Voss 1 on the TikTokity, and all those crazy places on the internet. Be good to each other. Stay safe. We'll see you guys next time. And that's